Welcome back to the Chelsweets kitchen. Today we are making a Doctor Who-inspired cake. So any of you who watch the show know that Doctor Who travels around in this British police box, and that's how he kind of travels through time. So this is called a TARDIS, which I had to look it up. It stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space, which, like I said, is really just kind of a fictional time machine, almost like a spacecraft. So to make this, as you guys saw, it's pretty tall. I'm using 6 square cake layers that I made by taking my favorite vanilla layer cake recipe and baking it out into 2 9 by 13 inch sheet pans. So I froze these layers before I stacked them, and that's really important for this cake. It's so tall that you really wanted to try to keep its structure, and by freezing my cake layers, it helped them kind of stick together and help the buttercream between the layers firm up. However, as I was adding my crumb coat, I did also add a wooden dowel into this just because it is so tall. I really needed it to help keep the layers in place. Once I had crumb coated and smoothed my second layer of navy blue frosting onto the cake, I began to work on the panels that go around the police box. So I started off by making the large rectangular side, and then I added the details on using a little bit of vodka and some additional fondant. So once I had kind of the division of the door in place, I added on the windows, and then I began to trace some rectangular panels beneath that to look like the panels that are on the side of a police box door. So I used a small cutout of a rectangle and a razor blade to do that, and then I filled in each panel by painting a little bit of vodka onto it to give it a little bit of shine and help it stand out from the rest of the door. Next, I used a tiny food-safe paintbrush and some white gel food coloring to paint the lettering on top of the door. So this is a little bit of a tedious process, and I definitely do not have the steadiest hands, but I did my best, and I definitely got better with each panel that I made. The last step was to add the little note on front of the door, just like in Doctor Who, and I then repeated this process with my 3 other panels. I let them harden for about 12 hours to really be firm, and then I used a little bit of extra buttercream to add them to the sides of my cake. I filled in the gaps between the panels with a little bit of extra navy blue buttercream, and I used the same technique on the top of the cake as well. So it's really important that your buttercream and your fondant are the same color. Since this police box is supposed to be able to travel through time and space, I wanted to give it kind of a galactic feel. So I added some black buttercream around the cake and added on some blue, purple, and gray swirls. And once those were in place, I used a small offset spatula to kind of smear them together to look like the police box is really flying through space. That was the finishing touch on this Doctor Who-inspired TARDIS cake. So it was a little bit of a challenge to cut through this since we did cover it in fondant that I allowed to harden overnight, but I was able to cut diagonally through it between the panels on the side, which made it much easier. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know in the comment section what you'd like to see next, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon.